No, that will be happening. We're actually going to kind of kick things off with that. Just for a recap, now I, of course, have a little bit of a recap typed up, which I copy pasted into the journal. Just kind of highlights main points. So if anybody would like to earn an inspiration, they can by recapping the last session from their character's perspective. I can do just like my quick bullet points, and that might inspire others to kind of jump in with their details. Um, Certainly. All right. Yeah, to start things off, you guys had come across the ambush and had successfully killed slash drawn away the draconians that were assaulting the wagon. At the end of that, uh, through the encouragement of Kelp and Brunhilde, the young Rice was made into a man. You guys had, at your behest, encouraged him to behead one of the beasts, which he did to his chagrin. And then a group of travelers came upon you that were heading in your direction, offered to give you a ride. And along the way, there was a unique squirrel that was kind of following along the track. And you had arrived early for the funeral in the village of Vogler, where Brunhilde was messing around in the kitchen. And that led to Arno and Jacques having their constitution tested a little bit, while Abbott was able to swiftly avoid any kind of negative event there. Everybody kind of got settled into their rooms. They had met with Becklin, sorry. And as far as the party that had met up, there were a couple people that you noticed that had the armbands signifying kind of VIP status as friends of Ispin Greenshield. Uh, One was a blue-skinned elf named Ladara. She didn't offer any stories during the funeral, but she did offer a song. The other was a small Kender slash halfling slash how we'll work that in, and she was looked uncomfortable being indoors, uncomfortable around a lot of people, so didn't engage with the party. But you do notice that they are a VIP guest and staying at the Brass Crab along with you guys. Brunhilde kind of made her own piece with Ispin, with notes from their cookbook, while Jacques had wanted to undergo a blessing ceremony, got extra ingredients of powdered silver in order to do that. And with that, uh, Cudgel and Becklin, whose picture you will see in the background of today's splash page, that's actually the scene of them dropping Ispin's body off into the river to let it go out. Very solemn and sad that they are. Uh, and she's kind of got a grand milfy thing going on, I suppose, if you're into that. She's a little more blonde in that picture than the gray hair from her icon. Which again, I'm not saying. Yep. So I just changed my picture to hers. She's a pretty old lady. Yeah. So that absolutely. So after the ceremony itself, there was a bit of an after party gathering held at the Brass Crab where people shared stories. In particular, after Arno had gotten done, he had kind of told off a heckler, kind of an uppity noble in town who, along with his son, was just kind of bringing things down and being a rude jerk. So Arno told him off. He kind of muttered off, nobody could take a joke, and he and his son left. and thereafter everything had kind of settled down for a quiet night. That's kind of the quick bullet point from my side. If anybody wanted to jump in from their characters' perspective, thoughts, responses on the day. Awesome. Well, that's definitely worth an inspiration there. I always like to. I always like to hear things, yeah, from the an alternate perspective. Good stuff. Is there anyone who'd like to contribute with their character's take? Yes, you are allowed to do so. Absolutely. Yeah. I trust everybody to work on honor system. I'm good with that. We're all adults. Yeah, you can use those whenever you want. You can use them like if you have two stored, you could use them on the same roll. Like re-roll, got a crappy roll again, use it right again. That's totally cool. Should you not have wanted to, correct. All right. So, on the eve of the funeral at the Brass Crab, everybody has pretty well settled down. People have gone to bed. There are a few of your group that you know got a little bit partied out, passed out a little bit early. You know that they're not going to be woken by a tornado hitting the place. But a couple of you, for whatever your personal reasons may be, might be a little bit restless, maybe a little bit of stomach ache, maybe not being used to sleeping indoors. A few of you are awake, kind of have a push to head out, get a glass of water in your own way. Those of you will be Arno, Abbott, and Petunia. And you happen to be awake. The bartender, of course, is closing up. The lamp is still on to allow travelers or last minute overlopers to come in, but you know she's about to be blowing that out. And the doors burst open, and in comes an individual who you haven't seen yet. And my first question for Kane is, as an invited guest to the funeral that you've arrived late for, uh, what brings you in late? And are you wearing the armband that Ispin gave with the letter to identify your VIP status? Okay, perfect. And in helping the injured person, you know that they happen to be attacked by some kind of strange creatures on the road. And in your travels to reach the village of Vogler, you've heard rumors here and there, very vague, and people are always kind of whispering about ghosts in the hills and that sort of thing. But it's kind of picked up recently. Strange creatures, strange sightings, attacks picking up. So kind of a tumultuous time. But the one who was injured pointed out that down a ways on the edge of the river, he believes that his companion was taken along with their goods by some of the creatures. And so you happen to know pretty well where they are. You even saw a campfire flickering in the distance, but you didn't want to necessarily run on them on your own. So you're hoping you might be able to find assistance here in this village. You understand that you're late for the funeral that you were invited to, but you'll cross that bridge, of course, when you get there. More immediately, you know that some kind of creatures, bandits, whatever it attacked that are holed up camping on the river nearby, and you're hoping to find allies. At the bar of the Brass Crab, you can see that it was a festive night that has been pretty well cleaned up, but tables are still kind of arranged in such a way for a group party rather than individual seating you'd usually see at a tavern. So you can tell, again, you just missed out on festivities and the events. Town is pretty sleepy and quiet. In the shadows of a couple of the hallways, you can see a couple people coming out, but you can't quite make them out. And you do have a lady at the bar who sees you come in, and in your haste, she drops her rag because bartenders are always cleaning something with a rag. She drops that in the glass that she's wiping and waits for you to approach. Uh, so that being said, Kane, if you'd like to introduce character's appearance and how you kind of introduce yourself into the brass crab and the bartender, Petunia, Abbott, and Arno are going to be observing this again, coming from the hallways, stirred from sleep, not able to rest. You see the arrival of Kane. So Ben, go ahead, take that. Says, well, gosh, Gosh, Sugar, what's going on? Looks like you're in quite a fit. Says, oh man, I there was another group that found an attack on the roads. Things are getting dark these days. Do you think the attackers they're nearby? Are we in danger? Ben, uh, Ben, you were told that they were in fact monstrous, and while you didn't see the attack, he did say something about the leader being uh, looking like blood, where the other ones look like something else. But so you can. It does sound familiar to you immediately. That rings true. Sounds like this guy knows maybe even more than you do about that attack. Welcome to share that or not at your leisure. So, because they have wings, you know that the Dragonborn of Faerun do not have wings. So that is very much distinctive, and they're bigger, more ferocious, a little more savage. Dragonborn can be studious wizards, like they're completely sentient. These creatures are definitely more aggressive and savage. That's an astute observation, sir, but I can't give that away. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, I added some of the handouts. So each session, when you've encountered more characters or more events and stuff, I've been sharing the player art handouts. So there'll be stuff from specific events or the specific creatures that you've encountered. Um, so you're welcome to call them what you will. They are dragon-ish. Their official name is draconian, but nobody has actually used that word in your presence. So you can coin the phrase. You can call them dragon things, but that is the best that you'd be able to. You definitely would differentiate them from Dragonborn. Yeah. certainly would have been within earshot to hear and observe the whole exchange. Okay. And you guys have a way with each other, of course, of being friends for a long time, so you don't even have to speak to kind of quickly communicate. Like, I'm with you, bro. I'm gonna go grab my gear. They, yeah, currently very passed out and had a lot to consume. Go ahead and roll me an insight check. Okay. Best you can muster is you think that Jacques is pretty well under the weather, and you're unsure of how helpful they would be in a fight because you might have to carry them to it. Yeah. All right. So from Brunhilde, can I get a perception check? Okay. Yeah. You are unable. You are unable to wake Brunhilde. She's not dead. She's just totally. Oh, I thought that you had. Okay. Your your knocking attempt did not stir any response from inside. You get nothing. Up to Brunhilde if they happen to be a snorer or not. If they are, it would escalate in response. If not, you only get kind of a toss to the other side, but you do not get a response. They are toasted out. All right. All right. Brunhilde, can I get another perception, please? You get nothing. You have been this passed out before. You're not so sure you're going to be able to stir them. You do know that time is of the essence. Kane was definitely kind of feeling a bit of in a hurry upon their arrival. Uh, all right. Yeah. So yeah, if we can get a perception from Kelp on the door knocking, we'll see if he can break through the haze. Oh yeah. Oh, you're on. Okay, so you're kind of something's kind of disturbing you. You had quite a bit. You're not necessarily dizzy, but you're kind of coming out of a daze. Arno, you can tell that you're starting to stir them, but they're not totally coherent as of yet. Yeah. You get some of it. You're stirred enough to recognize the voice of your new half orc companion. You're not sure. You heard something about some guy downstairs, maybe. That's as much as you get. And from Arno's perspective, he just heard you kind of stir a little bit and kind of mumble. You haven't really said anything coherent yourself in response, but you're kind of coming out of it. Yes, carefully. He was wearing an armband. Ispin. She is incredibly self confident, if nothing else. All right. So you're going to be using Mage Hand from the door to close nostrils and then be banging on it there. All right. So Brunhilde, you are abruptly brought awake. That's for Brunhilde to decide. I don't know if she's a snorer or not. Okay. Well, your snores are interrupted by being abruptly brought awake. You were losing your breath, so you kind of wake up choking a little bit, and there's banging at your door. Meanwhile, while you All right, and meanwhile, Kane downstairs feels a little bit anxious, kind of wondering what's going on. But you do hear a clatter upstairs. Sounds like things are coming along. You're not up there yet. You're welcome, of course, to move around a bit. And Abbott and Petunia, you kind of are in the same space of hurry up and wait. You do hear clatter upstairs. You assume that Arno has been successful in the waking he went to go do to some degree. He is the one who reported the attack that Arno is waking people up for. He was gonna try, but yeah. He conveniently had bad cooking and partied a little bit over, so the combination of factors have left him not exactly in a scout the beach and fight bad guys kind of condition. You say that in character? I will give you an insight check if you want to kind of explore that inner question a little bit. For Brunhilde can get an insight check. It sounded like they were the one who was kind of wondering, like, middle of the night, and where's the guards and stuff, kind of. Awesome. So you know that the town guard, the militia, has mostly been staying outside of town because they've been training a little bit with Cudgel's band and are preparing for the mock battle at the end of tomorrow's festival. Um, so a lot of them are actually gone and had left after the festivities. And so, middle of the night, you think that this traveler would have come in without having seen people. You know that the gate that you guys came in from hasn't been closed in decades, it looks like, because of the way things are overgrowing on it and such. So it's kind of an open town. So your best guess is this guy kind of came into town, followed the lamplight, and just hadn't encountered anybody yet. Conveniently, Arno was awake to have observed his arrival. So yeah, you don't necessarily get, like, personally, you don't get a bad vibe from this. It seems like the pieces you've been able to put together, it sounds like there was just another attack outside of town. Luckily, this guy happened to find them and was able to report it, and it's probably a good thing that he didn't go by himself, whoever he is. Not necessarily little, but yeah. Petunia, you are able to observe as they're coming downstairs the last snippets of that conversation and the positions they're taking on magic. Just because that's important to your character and you just rolled that background thing. Just something to observe. One of the party members is defending magic, the other one is a lot more skeptical. Something to note for you. That she's hanging back in the hallway, kind of in the shadows. So, without directly looking, she wouldn't really be acknowledged or noticed. But she's not, as of yet, she hasn't taken an active hide sneak check. Petunia, are you fine with people observing you as more people are starting to arrive and they're coming down the stairs? Okay, fair. Okay, so you'd be seen, but you look like you don't want to interrupt or interject. Okay, so that's what you would observe. Very meek, pensive, uncomfortable in indoor settings and around people is what you would observe of Petunia. Downstairs, outside of the main area. The bartender, Kane, Petunia, and Abbott. And now you guys. So, Kane, this will be the first time that you see the dwarf and the sea elf. And they arrive with the half orc, who you've never seen a half orc before, or even really heard of one. So he's a bit of an anomaly, but very active and being helpful. So you're not getting a bad vibe despite his intimidating visage. Okay. And real quick, did Abbott happen to engage with Kane while Arno was upstairs, or did you guys just share a silent nod with a drink? Okay. All right. The only thing really that would stand out to you from your previous experience is that the survivor is pretty lucky that they lived, didn't get killed and or eaten. So lucky for them. But you don't get a nefarious sense of that. It seems like they just happen to have been lucky. You don't get any sense of insincerity from Kane and his telling of the event. It seems to line up with what you've already observed, particularly the details of the dragon creatures. And Kane, if you are wanting to share anything else with Abbott, you certainly may, or you can try to learn more about them, but you do get the impression that they are introverted at the very least. Okay. All right. And so that is where you'll have the opportunity to make introductions of the arriving Kelp, Brunhilde, and returning armor. As Petunia inches closer to listen, but is not engaging or interrupting. He'd currently be stabilized outside of town if you wanted to find a way to aid him in back into town. But you are correct; he really wasn't in a position to move, and you wanted to act quicker to see if there were other survivors and respond to the camp. Now that you had stabilized him and he's okay, and hopefully won't get eaten by a bear. Ooh. It's a walk down the beach. But that is information that Kane knows. He hasn't offered that to you. pots and pans. All right. Well, if everybody is well suited and everything, Kane can lead the party down the beach toward the campsite. It is the middle of the night, so bear that in mind, those of you who do not have dark vision. And I don't know about halflings. Does Petunia have uh, touche? They may not know that yet, but that is definitely super to bear in mind. All right. Well, if you guys would like, up to you guys, if you want to keep going or if anybody needs a quick bathroom break or anything like that, this would be a perfect chance to transition there if we wanted to do that. If there's anybody who would like to recess for a few minutes. Okay. Yeah, a good time. So for enough time for dabs and coughing and recovery, I'd say we can go at least 5 to 10 minutes here, if you guys would like. Maybe reconvene at 8:35. Yeah, 5 or 10. I'll still be here, so yeah, that's good. All right, cool, cool. Well, I will take a moment. I will just mute up here, but I'm still here. I can still listen and stuff. But yeah. All right, cool, cool. We'll meet up back up in a few then. So through the dark, Kane is able to lead you to the outskirts of a makeshift camp that has been set up by some interlopers. You all should be able to hopefully see a beach and a picture of some creatures that appear to be having a good time. You can hear them before you see them. You'll kind of get the flicker of the campfire before you arrive, but you can hear the guttural laughter, their cheers, every once in a while, a pretty sloppy chewing, crunching a bone. And upon arrival, you see that their backs are to you. They certainly don't notice you. They're in their revelry, having a good time, making plenty of noise there. So, through the darkness, whether being able to see through it or not, you guys are able to come onto the scene without yet having irked their attention. Kelp says mage armor. Yeah, you certainly have the ability to survey the scene. The beach campsite that they've chosen is very wide open. Nice visibility you've got, even darkness, moon shining down. Down the river a ways, you can see a dark form that's just kind of floating down. You're welcome to roll a perception check if you like, or insight, whichever you like better, actually. Yeah. So you realize that that is the boat carrying your friend Ispin. Yeah. Water's not moving very fast, and it's carried it down this far. It's a ways past where you're at. It's not right next to you. It's just off in the distance. Yes, his body was put to rest, and nobody shot flaming arrows at it. Oh no, you presume that the snacking that they're currently doing is the survivors of the one that Kane had helped on the roadside that clued into their existence here. That being said, you don't see any living survivors. What was that? Sorry. That depends on what individuals have smelled burning human flesh before, whether it's been in battle or whether they are a cannibal themselves. I guess, yeah. So, and it's that aroma. For some, maybe it smells like barbecue without seasoning. It's very much a rugged and primitive venture, no spices being applied. The wind is carrying the campfire and the aroma not much to you or away from you. There isn't, again, calm waters and calm air. So it's really kind of drifting upwards. So it's not until you really get right on it that you're able to even catch a whiff of what's going on. You wouldn't have known that until you got right there. Is it because it's people or because there's no spices? That's what you really have a problem with. Yeah. Maybe this is what bridges the gap of peace between, warring cultures and the invasion of evil. Yeah. Right here and right now. It's come to this. I was waiting for Jacques to miss the session so I could be like, all right, guys, here it is. It's the big finale. It's not just a human thing. No, from your vantage point, you can see them feasting on parts that are very clearly humanoid, and you see blood splatters uh, as best as you can flickering in the light of the campfire there in the ground in front of them. You do not see any moving figures besides the five of them. Two very far off, looks like they're rummaging through the belongings that have been taken, and then the three that are right next to the fire who are drinking and having a merry time. Yes, right. I will say, for in general, for the world, that is definitely frowned upon. But each individual, of course, is welcome to have their own opinion. I would presume Faerun to also frown upon that, in the sense of if the thing can have a conversation with you, tell you its name, it's not food. The party minus Cain would have all observed these creatures having eaten the spoils of their quarry before. So they used to be. The campfire for where you are here on the beach, the moonlight in the campfire is enough to where you're illuminated to be able to see everything. You have not yet been seen, but if you make notice of yourself, it wouldn't take much. They're just very much not paying attention and not concerned. That's not true. Looks like you should have 15. Here, I got you. Um, I noticed earlier that I had to update abbots. I hadn't seen kelps being less than they should have been. How's Petunia doing? Yeah, absolutely. You guys have a moment where you have come onto the scene. You're far enough away to where you've been able to have these conversations. You're not yelling and stomping around and making a scene, of course, but you're well out of view and safe to be able to have these conversations. To yeah. I would prefer it to be something that comes from an in character perspective as best you can, but really basic things like flanking, sneaking, have the high ground, those are things that you can generally know. If you're busting out the art of war, I would say probably that's a bit much, too much meta. Unless your character says, I have this copy of the art of war, in which case, by all means. Yeah. And certain impulsive things like that you can certainly come to naturally. A spellcaster is going to know how to think about how to use their spells creatively, so they're not going to be held back with even like player knowledge if their character might know a cool way to do something. It does go both ways. Okay. And what is Petunia doing back there? Does she have a plan, a contribution, an action? She's on the rocks, kind of blends in, color and stuff. Yeah, that's good at what she does. Yeah. Very sneaky. All right. And are you wanting to cast that before action happens? Or are you wanting to be ready to bring it out when the light goes off and the plan is kicked into action? Okay. And then will you be staying where you are? Or are you going to join the group with Kane, Brunhilde, and Kelp, or go down with Arno and Abbott, or even take your own path. You're welcome to kind of sneak up on your own trajectory if you like as well. That is a good question. Because you have sharpshooter, you don't have a penalty on the long shots with them. So it's you get essentially the long range. Yeah, so if you plan on using your darts on roll 20, I'm just gonna mark the sharpshooter bonus there. You have an incredible attack range for. So you won't have disadvantage on the long range. I thought that it was a lot like 60 was the regular, but isn't the long range a lot more than that? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're tiny. So then, yeah, 60, and normally you would have disadvantage at the max range, but you do not. You do extra damage because you can pinpoint like kind of called shot with your darts where you want to hit people. So bear that in mind. All right. You actually right now pretty much have free movement up to the point where the other guys have moved. So you don't have to calculate that just yet. You can pretty much just move where you like to, up to the line, I would say, of here. Kind of where Arno is there is as far as everybody's kind of gotten to and planned. I probably wouldn't have given it a second thought and been like, yeah, float like a log down the river, see what happens. Always worth it to try. All right, so you guys will be able to get to kind of the edge of the firelight where they're going to be able to kind of see. Arno, you know, about here is where you're going to have to be in super sneak mode, and any kind of action from there. This is the point where any action is going to, yeah, call into play there. So go ahead. Can I get a stealth roll from you and Abbott if you're going to clear that distance? You as well. If you're hanging back, super necessary. Um, nice. All right. So you guys feel like you're in a perfect position, and they're distracted, drinking, eating, having a jolly good time of it. Yeah, you are definitely good to go there. So it is on you guys to execute any kind of plan you may have. As of yet, you have not gotten their attention. All right, excellent. And as far as describe, since you're coming new into the party, what does your magic look like when you cast it and when you blast it forth? And does it give a hint as to the source of your power, etc.? Okay. Okay, and your power is divine, and you had said, let's see, I have it in Discord. You had said who your patron was, but I don't have that name memorized. Yes, thank you. And so those present would see a very different kind of magic than usually wielded by wizards and such. This looks like it's something more divine, which, if you hadn't been fighting weird dragon creatures lately, might be more shocking, but you guys are kind of on the level. And of course, Petunia knows that there's divine source of magic because she has it. While she hasn't shared that, she's well aware that the gods, at least some of their influence, is returning because she's an example of it. Um, word. I was going to mention on the note of magic to Kelp, your magic comes from external source, but doesn't look as different from wizardry as Kane's does. But just a note there, you two know that you have a divine source of power that is unique to the world. Just kind of affirming that. So anyway, as you were, Arno, to get your game on and go play. Guiding Bolt is going off there on the Boss Draconian. Petunia's getting her spirit totem ready to go. Perfect. With the bear spirit, you had said? Okay. And what is the radius of the aura? Are you able to just hit all your friends on the map, kind of? Or. Purple spirit point. And then 60 feet, 30-foot radius, and then a 30-foot radius. Okay. Um, if you do, because you are able to have it affect at your choice. You wouldn't have it affect the bad guys. So if you did cast it close to them, those coming into the aura could get your bonus there. This is true too. So does last for a minute, and then 5 plus your druid level, which should be 2. So you guys will have those in the aura will have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, and you'll have 7 temporary hit points, which is super nifty. The aura is 30 feet, and we'll want to mark. No, she gets to set a point for it. So she'll want to designate. Meanwhile, guiding bolt. Oh, for those that have it set to automatically roll advantage, we'll always be using the left one first for any questions or anything. Yes, that is what is happening right now. The guiding bolt is going off. A bear totem is being created. This is all kind of happening in a flash, and they are going to be slow motion responding to that, turning their heads, seeing the flash. One is getting hit right now with a guiding bolt because that was successful. Kelp is, yeah, absolutely. And okay, and you can move it. I'm just going to draw a circle onto the map there so that we have your token. So that'll be the center point right here. All right, perfect. And I'm not sure if you can move that little circle. If you can, go for it. If not, I can move it when you need to. And was that a natural one on your sleep spell? Okay. Okay, there we go. I was hovering over it there. Yeah. And that is the amount of hit dice that you can affect. Yeah. So, all right. So it's very interesting as this all how this all kind of converges, and I'm pretty sure that that dude, yeah. So all four of his companions, he being the leader here, the red one, as they're kind of realizing a guiding bolt comes in, does successfully strike this guy. At the same time, he's hit with a sleep spell, and so four of them have now been put to sleep, and he stands up and turns his head. He's a little bit under the weather from the celebrations, but starts to shake it off and is peering into the darkness and growls and pulls his dagger. Looks at the companions of his that have all been put to sleep by Kelp and digs his heels into the sand and looks like he's waiting for a response here. Slash an initiative. So Kelp's sleep spell has effectively rendered everyone except for the leader helpless and sleeping. Those are hit dice, I thought, not hit points. Oh my goodness. If it's only hit points, that's very different. Okay, never mind. I'm really sorry. I thought that that was hit dice. That's why I was so impressed by the roll there. So we're going to have one that falls asleep then. Apologies for the excitement. And I thought somewhere there was a good icon for sleep to throw on there. All right, well, we'll just be brokenhearted. Did somebody roll for Jacques? How does Jacques have an initiative roll in there? He's having some interesting dreams. And Brunhilde has two. Um, that's kind of weird. What did Okay, I wonder if it just didn't yet because it's going through. Either way, you're at the same place in the order, so I'll just delete that one. You said you guys have both gotten 18, so that's an old one from Arno. I don't know why it has dual rolls from everybody. I don't. Maybe I didn't clean up the turn order before, but it shouldn't do that. Okay. All right. Let's clean up a little bit there. I only deleted one. There should be another. So I just, yeah, Brunhilde is first in the turn order. Yeah, at the top of the order there. I just refreshed it and sorted it by descending, which, by the way, is super convenient. Yeah, yeah. I promise she is there, number 20. I've got Brunhilde. That is weird. No, I have Brunhilde on there on my side. Yeah, she's at the top of the turn order. Then Arno, then Kane, then Kelp, then some Draconian action, and then Abbott. I have not yet gotten a roll from Petunia. Um, got a 24, but it didn't add a turn order. I can. I'll just get that added in with the 24 because that then will put her actually at the top. Yep. I just added Petunia. Yeah. So it's Petunia, then Brunhilde, then Arno. Um, so I can't see those. I will let you guys know, of course, when you're on deck and stuff. Bless you, by the way. Yeah. The two with the broken hearts on them, yeah. I couldn't find a good sleepy icon. But yeah, those are the two that have been put down. He will not be good because 14 damage is going to destroy that guy in quite a beautiful blast. And these guys are the ones that. Now, Kane, you haven't seen this. The others of you have. When these Draconians died, they turned to stone and they emit a gas. They were able to avoid the gas when Rice had decapitated one of them. Luckily, nobody got hit by it. Nobody knows if anything happens, but you do know that they petrify when they are killed. One of them, yes, did dissolve into a goo, acidy, splashity goo. You're not sure as to why that happened. Um, Maybe genetics or something. But he will, and I haven't actually marked him with a he got killified. So while I'm marking that, how would you like to describe the epic guiding bolt that eliminates one of those guys? All right, excellent. So when he is when the body starts to turn into stone, he's dropped to his knees, and the hole in his chest is left as the stone forms over, and the whole thing is going to collapse over. And so there's now a holy draconian statue tipped over on its knees, reaching out with a Wyme hose, heartily destroyed by Cain Deadthorn. With that, it brings us to the top of the initiative order, and Miss Petunia, that falls to you. Through everything, you are ready to go. For me, I like to have it be circumstantial. You can assume that it might, but also it's magical sleep. Do you have sleep magic yourself? Okay. So you're not sure how that may or may not affect. You're welcome to make an arcana check if you like, if you have the skill. For just an observation would take her whole action. I was gonna allow it be at the most a bonus action. I wasn't gonna make it take up her whole turn to kind of um, because essentially she observed the sleep spell being done. If she's just wondering how effective that sleep might be, a quick arcana check I was going to give as just kind of a freebie, really, for just kind of being like, oh, I wonder how that magic might affect. Well, I remember I heard blah blah blah, but a quick side thought. I will answer your game question technical term. They will wake if they take damage, but your character may or may not know that. So I was going to give you that arcana check to know if there would be an effect since you don't already have sleep magic of your own. So you're welcome to, no pun intended, roll the dice on that and figure out the hard way. So on your character sheet will be a place that has your weapon equipped. It'll have dart, and you'll see a place that has an attack bonus and damage. And if you click on the attack part, it should roll the dice for you and also do that. Okay. Less familiar with do. I don't know if we've. Yeah, I was just gonna say you do have to have a browser extension in order to incorporate Roll20 with Beyond. Okay, good, good. It'll be the hit. Hmm. Yeah, definitely a solid strike there. And so, what was your aim really going for as far as it had just kind of fallen asleep? So, it's not laying flat prone, it's kind of slumped over because it was sitting in a chair. The three of them were around the campfire. So, with him being slumped over in the chair and your vantage point there, were you going for a main body shot or a head shot, or where were you kind of, how were you going with your attack there? All right. Well, you do hit solid on the mark with what you're going for with your dart. The rest of you would be very difficult to see the actual dart itself, but you see the sleeping draconian kind of lean over, Zapruder style. You see the hand kind of go up to the neck. You see him fall off of the chair and grasping at his throat where blood starts to leak out. You know that was a pretty solid shot. He is not dead, but he is bleeding out and hurt, and is now just on his knees by the chair in the campfire, using the chair to hold himself up as the other hand is trying to kind of grasp at his throat that has the dart sticking out of it. So that then, for Petunia, will be your main action. Do you have a bonus action you'd like to take, or a little bit of move? You still have your totem out. That is granting advantage on strength for people within the aura. You can move that around. Pretty sure is a bonus. Yeah. I suppose I can make this circle actually. It makes it all chunky. Yeah. 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 So, was there a bonus action you wanted to take, Petunia, or were you? All right. Well, you've both boosted your compatriots and have helped to take down one of their foes, and still have not said a word to them. So that's awesome. We now move to Brunhilde. You are next up in the initiative order. Standing. All right. Give me just a perception check, real quick. Be able to find something. You're fairly certain it's not difficult to find something like that on the beach. Once you have it, of course, banging your pan is pretty well easy to accomplish. But yeah, you definitely find the perfect instrument. You can choose whether it's a shell or a rock or a log, something else that you're banging your pan on. In case you want to save it for later or something, it can be a pretty cool shell or something. All right. All right. We've certainly drawn the attention again since Arno and Abbott were pretty well hidden and they don't really notice the source of the dart. You have, of course, the attention now of the two Draconians left standing. One still sleeping, one dying, pretty much bleeding out over the chair, one destroyed by the guiding light that was thrown over your shoulder. That is all that you wanted to do, just draw the attention over there. All right. Perfectly successful. You got a sweet rock. Until all right. Yeah, they definitely are on Brunhilde's attention. They haven't moved yet because it's your turn to do so, but their attention is drawn away from where you're at. Okay, so you wanted to hold your action. You wanted to hold your action. Okay, perfect. That you may do. That then will lead us to Kane with Kelp on deck. Kane, you know that they're looking your direction because the dwarf has just drawn their eyes toward you guys. Side question while you're moving over there, I just had a quick question for Petunia. Your bear totem, is it just a bear that's standing in place? Is it shouting encouragement? Is bear just like a name for like a floating claw aura or something? What does that look like on the battlefield there? Because it will be glowing and illuminating the beach and stuff pretty epically. Ooh, awesome. Okay, it's still inspiring. Just wanted to have that clear, especially with Kane getting up a little bit closer to it and being able to see some of the details in it and feeling the magic rush, of course, that everybody feels. Yeah. Thank you, that interlude, Kane. Go ahead. Then he speaketh unto thee. Is he someone's uncle? Because I swear this happens every time. Always Uncle Ben falling off. Doesn't show muted on my side on Discord. He is, yeah. Yeah, on my side I don't see him muted either. All right. Thank you for jumping on the other headphone amongst the technical difficulties there. Oh, all good. All right. So Kelp now has seen the attention grabbed by Brunhilde and the advance of Kane. Has seen his sleep be effective. It is, but he's pretty much bleeding out and dying out, trying to brace himself on the chair and steady himself, but he's pretty well messed up. The other one was killed by guiding light, so technically alive, yes, but he's not engaging at the moment. Mm-hmm. No, he's dead. He's he got blasted through the chest by a guiding bolt and then turned to stone. Very awake, very hungry looking. An intelligence save. Oh, dude. Okay. Um, since we switched the target there, technically I rolled with the other guy. Can you guys see my rolls? No, because it's whispered to GM. Okay, well, gonna give this guy his own save. Because if the other one had, if, if anyone had seen the roll, they would have seen the natural 20 that the other guy is just not going to be mind slivered But since he had to target a closer one, he is already messed up and having the worst night ever. He thought he was having a great day. These humans tasted great, and some of his favorite flavor human. The fire was nice, but a dart to the throat and then something blasting through his mind has completely knocked him out into death. So what? Yeah, I was just going to ask: is there anything that looks like when he goes down, or do his eyes explode with light, or anything like that when it's fatal dose? Eye bulgy, holes bleeding. That's beautiful. Yes, go ahead. Yeah. So as far as your totem expiring, definitely not an issue for a while. And that didn't require concentration, I don't think, did it? No, the spirit totem. I don't think so. I think you just call it forth, and then as a bonus action, you can move it around. But yeah, it just persists. Yeah, that's awesome. So good to go there. All right. So with the destruction of another one, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. We've killed the one, so Abbott is going to be able to move before, because that guy's dead. So Abbott, you are up. Standing on the shores of the water. They really haven't noticed you and your friend Arno yet at all. You guys are still on the side, and Brunhilde was able to get their attention before they're able to really survey the scene any better. And so this is your oyster. And you're a rogue, right? So you're going to get some sneak attack damage. Very clearly going to be seen by the guy in front of you now, but the sleeping guy does not see you, and you guys were under great cover there. So yes, yeah, you have advantage on your attack, so you get that other one. Sorry, yeah, sneak piercing, sneak piercing, sneak piercing. How many times did you stab him? You just run over in prison, shake him a bunch of times in his bunk there. So as far as what should be 9 is your total? All right. Yeah, agreed. Okay. kooky things. All right, and so for your attack here, were you going for a slice or a stab or a bludgeon? How are you going about that? All right, so you're not used to how tough these creatures' skins actually are, and so they do have like a natural scaly armor to them. But you find a nice soft spot. You're able to jam it in. Um, you know that you got a pretty nice attack in there. Of course, a perfect attack. You could have just beheaded him, uh, measured and everything. But the way that you sliced him, there's a gurgle and a choking, and he's getting to his feet. But from the wound, the blood is flowing profusely. And as he's trying to come to his feet, he's definitely worse for the wear. So he's barely standing. His legs are shaking as he tries to even respond to being woken up with a knife wound. So you very effectively stabified this guy. I was just rolling initiative to get him into the order there. Yeah. All right. So was there more on your turn you wanted to do there? Okay. So he can hear, gets a little bit of a head turn to hearing some of the noise behind him. But their leader, who by the way is only wielding one dagger instead of the two, because I don't know what happened to the other dagger, it's not here. Pretty sure Arno has that somewhere. And that, yeah, because you could have kept it, you could have left it where you were stabbed if Jacques just threw it away or whatever. But okay, but he is. Let me check. He's able to close some of the distance, trying to move in toward Kane and Broomhilda, where he's at. Of course, he can only get so far, so he's going to get closer. Now, I do believe. No, he does not. He's going to get right up close and roar at you, but he's not able to swing. He does get to kind of the edge because you're just out of his range. You can see too that these guys are still damaged from their fight with the knights a couple day or two ago, and they haven't fully recovered. So you can tell that you're still having a time with them. It would be more difficult if they were fresh, not partying in the middle of the night, etc. Go ahead, Arno, because you were reserving your move, and he has moved across to close the distance there. So go ahead. Yeah, in seeing you approaching, though, he would definitely stop and turn to you and be like, "You still live." So you have his attention instead of Broomhilda and Kane now. And there was another action being held, I believe. Oh, not the surprise guiding bolt that you'd already blasted with? All right, go there. Um, sure about. I don't know. It surely does. It's a magic number. That's pretty awesome. So the force of that bolt, he's given his attention to Arno, but takes him on the side of the head and the shoulder and actually stumbles him back and knocks him down to one knee and is incredibly devastating. Coughs up blood a little bit. Almost looks as if in the darkness something smolders off of him. But he is very well not feeling great. Yeah, and I'll want to look into the thing because I feel like Arno should have gotten an attack there. I don't know. It's kooky. Yeah. It's just a kooky thing. I'll think on that for next time or slash future reference because uh, holding an action should. Anyway, I digress. I'll figure that out. For now, we will carry on as such. So the last one that's going to be able to act is the Draconian who just watched his sleeping buddy get stabbed almost to death. And so Abbott has definitely drawn his ire, and he's going to be taking an attack. And there'll be a couple swings with a short sword coming at you. He does not have advantage, but he rolled pretty well. So 22 on the first strike. Doesn't get a very good piece of you, though, only 3 damage. I presume my 22 will hit. And, oh, did I just have a habit of putting more stuff away? So, with a backswing of his other arm, it is a complete whiff, and he slips in some of the blood of his compatriot and kind of stumbles over. So, you're going to have advantage on your next attack on him because I rolled a 1. So, you see him barely get a piece of you with 3 damage, and his other backswing just gets his ankle twisted in some of the spilled blood that you created a moment before, and kind of turns himself to open himself up. Like his arm is outstretched, his ribs and under his arm are exposed with some of the softer flesh that his natural armor doesn't cover. So enjoy that free shot that you got coming up there. With that, it's going to bring us to the top of the order with Petunia. Your friends have all moved away from you at Waterside. You've got the river calmly at your back, and you can tell there's only a couple of these guys who are left standing. One of them isn't even fully standing. Two of them trying to stay even. So that you should only have one spell per turn in general, is what I thought was the rule. As far as actions go, some of them take a full action, some of them take a bonus action. So that is the thing you would want to be sure of, because you might be able to do a full thing and cast a spell, usually a cantrip or something lighter. But if you do, usually an offensive spell would use up all of your main action. You could still move around, but that kind of be it. Alrighty. All right. And no need to look at the thing. All right. So, Abbott, around you, fog starts to build up and completely envelops yourself and the draconians that are nearby you. Is a 20-foot sphere you said was centered on Abbott. So it's also going to obscure the campfire a bit. So things are a little bit darker. You still have moonlight where Arno, Kane, Brunhilde, and Kelp are at. But the campfire is fully obscured, as are Abbott and the two draconians he was left with therein. Yeah, it has a nice little kind of aura of a glow. It's comparable to the campfire ish, but is now definitely outshining it on the outskirts of the fog's edge. Okie doke. Brunhilde is up, wearing her boots and her nightie and wielding her pan. Oh, beautiful. That is fantastic. Well, and it just, she comes in. Hey, this is how you cook a mushroom. Hey, this is how you kill a scary monster in the middle of the night. Yeah, yeah. So it's the help action. You get advantage on your next task. Um, or you can distract a creature within 5 feet of you, and that'll give an attack roll advantage. But works out the same. Yeah. All right, Arna. Wow, wow, wow. It's Yeah, you're good to go on him. He was dropped to a knee and is bleeding out, smoldering of divine blast aftermath. So, after Brunhilde's encouragement, how would you like to do this? He looks up at you from his stance, meets you in the eye, growls, his eyes narrow. He knows the end is coming. You're sharing this moment. He knows what is about to happen, but he doesn't give ground, and he just bares his teeth, clenches the dagger in his hand. Decapitation. All right. It is a beautiful flow of weapon finesse. displayed before a most incredible decapitation. Brunhilde and Arno, can I please get a dexterity save? Yeah, you're running blindly into a fog cloud, and you know there's a fire in there. Okay, so with your decapitation, I will still need with the death throws a dexterity save on your way out because with the and Brunhilde as well, and that dex save you're going to want to beat a 12 if you please, because acid is splashing forth from the carcass of your decapitated adversary. How'd that work out for you guys? It looks like you're able to both avoid the splash of acid, and you're starting to get a sense it must be a genetic thing as far as how these different draconians die and what kind of effect they have. Again, the ones you've seen nearby, the green ones, uh, have turned to stone, and you've now seen a couple exploding ones into acid. That being said, Arno is charged into a fog cloud, and I'm going to need another dexterity check as your foot stumbles across the campfire there. You will be taking just d4 of fire damage as you kind of step into it and you get a little bit stuck. Yeah, so just a little bit of soot there. Here, I'll go ahead and I'll let you know. Yeah, nice, cool. So your leg just gets a little bit smoldered there as it gets kind of stuck as you're tromping into the fog cloud. Walk right through the fire. You're able to shake it off. Doesn't linger on you. And so with that, you have one fully dead pile of goo and a fog cloud where Ally Abbott and Arno Stone are currently engulfed with a couple of the Draconians that were left. Gonna bring us to Kane. If Ben is present and headset is working. There we go. Yes, indeed. Or 20. It's 20. Yeah. Oh, same. Yeah, I didn't know that Kane was only just moving up. Sorry. Okay, okay. Alrighty. That is going to bring us to Abbott, who is fully engulfed in the cloud. You know that in front of you and adjacent are a pair of draconians. One of them hurt pretty bad and barely able to move and stand and stuff. One of them still fresh-ish while they still bear the battle wounds of the other day. Pretty angry and was focused on you before he got turned about. So you did have advantage on hitting him before. You know that he's not ready for a strike. The cloud, because it obscures your vision, you can kind of gauge where he's at. It's just going to even that out. So you won't have disadvantage on hitting him, but you won't have the advantage you earned before from my critical failure. That is to say, you're welcome to do anything. You, of course, don't have to attack, but just putting that out there for you. Oh, no, it means he can't be hit either. Okay. All right, go for it. Well, okay, doke. All right, and your strike that had missed, you did feel it hit something, but you know that they have a pretty tough armor. So, um, while you did make strike, you don't think that you cut through anything. You've kind of felt it clang off rather than make a cleave. You're familiar with the feel of your blade when it makes the contact you want. And so, with that, you hear a roar, and you hear slashing in the fog. Arno, you hear and almost feel a heavy stomp kind of in your direction. You still can't fully see, but you do get a sense of movement and growling, some whooshing in the air as as it brings us through to Petunia's turn. Oh, so very. In most epic fashion, did Arno, with a fancy twirl of his swords and showing off a little bit, did decapitate him and avoid the acid splash that came from its body. I did not see how Brunhilde dodged it. She was encouraging Arno in his attack, but she was not splashed with the acid either. Yeah. So you know that Abbott did some pretty good damage prior to the fog cloud coming out, and then you're able to provide some cover for him to escape out of there as a stealthy rogue might. And you see him come running out of the fog, looking pretty not bad. From where you can tell, it doesn't look like he got hurt. Just a flesh wound. Now, two questions. Do you have to be able to see him, and can you see through your own magical fog? Doesn't say on fog cloud whether or not your vision is obscured. Okay. So you unfortunately wouldn't be able to see Arno as he has ran into the fog. That being said, it's going to last for the duration or until wind of moderate or greater speed disperses it. Now, I personally believe that a spellcaster should be able to dispel their own creation. I don't know if that breaks things from the perspective of the rest of the party, particularly spellcasters. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I just assume that to be something that be able to do. So, Petunia, if you would like, since you haven't fully committed to an action yet, I will let you go ahead and dispel the fog cloud if you would like, and still take an action. All right. And since there isn't much of a breeze, it kind of dissipates on the ground and outward, almost kind of like a mushroom cloud, but fades out in that fashion. And so, Arno, you can see now the Draconian right in front of you. As the fog dissipates, you see the hulking form in front of you start to come into form. And it's bigger than you, which is really rare for you to see a humanoid. And yeah, everybody can see everything materialize out. You can see that the fire has died down considerably because it looks like something kind of broke it up. More than likely, death rattle or something. Fire a little less potent than it was before the fog cloud. And then you are going to, yes, if you'd like, you can execute that healing word. So, I don't know, you've got feeling much, much better. Oh, yeah, that definitely puts you up. Gives you a bolster and a really good feeling for facing up to the beast that just materialized in front of you. Indeed. You may. And that is intelligence. Does not have. Will not save 5 psychic damage. So, Arno, you see the hulking beast who looks very much willing and wanting to engage. And then you see it stutter in its step and lurch forward and put its hand up to its head and let forth a roar. A similar reaction to the guy who died over the chair, but this doesn't appear to be fatal. Just quite invasive. Definitely takes him out of his step, and he definitely looks a lot more vulnerable. Yeah, indeed. You can't tell from where you are as to specific contents of what might be left. It's over kind of behind some bodies and a tree in the darkness where all the loot seems to be stored away from the fire. And those of us who have gotten closer do see a couple of limbs that are left over from their feast. Oh, it would typically be on your turn, yeah. Anything that has a reaction would be whenever the condition occurs. Okay. So where you're at there, you do have a better view. There is a dead body kind of laying on the heap there, but just assorted goods. That's 20 or 30. Oh, you can. I'll let you have done that at the end of your turn. Sorry about that. Do you want to move it right over next to the fire? Chpoof. All right. The ethereal bear has materialized itself right next to Arno and Brunhilde and the Draconian. More illumination there. Lights up, particularly off of your sword and your pan. That'll be the one that is to your south directly. The one that you're next to, the one that would be west of you on the compass, it is kind of bleeding out. It's standing, it's hunched over. One hand is clutching at kind of its neck, chest area where blood is kind of still pouring forth. Its other hand does have its sword raised. Okay. That is going to bounce off of its scaly hide. Swipe with the pan, able to get his arm up, brushes it off. Roar. All right. So Arno next to Brunhilde is insanely pissed that she was not able to put down this draconian. Yes. Oh no. So Brunhilde, can I get a dexterity save? Okay, so you have a spur of the moment opportunity here. That's a pretty fantastic save roll. You can either catch Arno from tripping. If you do, it's going to expose your back to the other one. You have the opportunity to kind of sacrifice yourself to stop him from tripping and falling with his attack and leaving himself vulnerable. It is up to you to act. Yes, you will be able to steady him and get into action form, but you're going to expose your back to the draconian to your west. Oh, yes. Come again, sorry? Oh, in catching him, you would be able to save him upright. You would essentially be saving him from losing his footing. All right. And it's up to you guys if you share like a head tilt, twinkle in the eye, sparkles around your head, Dreamweaver playing in the background. Okay. It's not your moment, Arno. But alas, you have been saved from, you know that your footing and some of the slick of the blood, some of the tromping through the fire. Footing's not great here on the beach, so Brunhilde has just saved you from certainly being exposed to being attacked. But so in so doing, has turned her back to the adversary behind her. That will bring us over to Kane. I can. All right. So you're not taking an aggressive action toward either of the draconians. Oh yes, the one that would be directly in front of you. He's still kicking, but pretty hurt. The other one is near death, but not quite all dead. Stabbity stab from the side. Oh, very much so. All right, you had a great angle on it, and you know with just a slight push could have had it in there, but you make it through his cape, but not through his hide. So bear in mind that one of the capes is made that much worse if anybody wanted to keep one. That being said, Kelp, you're able to observe directly in front of you. Abbott had stumbled out of the fog. You've seen people close in the distance there, with the exception of Petunia. Everybody gathered around the last two. Campfire's a little bit dwindled, but the light's better from Petunia's bear totem, which will be kind of makes a silhouette of Abbott in front of you, as if he didn't already look like Batman. Well, he's gonna try not to be hurt, of course. Ooh, he's able to shake it off. He's not sure what's coming from that, but you can tell that this one actually makes him angrier. Shakes his head, growls at Brunhilde. You can smell his terrible cooking. All right. Mind Sliver tend to be applied. Abbott. We've seen some wiggly fingers come from Kelp. And the melee's gotten a little bit tighter from where you just escaped from there. But the fog is cleared. You have clear vision. A bear totem between you and the Draconian, who's less hurt, flanked by Arno and Kane and Brunhilde. Abbott, do we have an Abbott? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that at all. Yes. How would that look, Petunia, with a person kind of sharing the space with the ethereal bear? How will it just kind of look, respond, and act? Okay. She'll be lit up by the ethereal magic, kind of swimming around there, but otherwise won't feel anything terrible or have any blindness or anything. Certainly well illuminated, the Draconian in front of you. All right. Abbott is dashed back into the fray, making a swing, coming head on pretty well on a strike. You've got a pretty good bead on. Well, that's certainly. And was Abbott one of the ones who was blessed? just in case. But all right. So, Abbott, how would you like to do this? He was mainly focused on Arno. Brunhilde came up and made an attack that wasn't as effective, and Kane came up, also tried to make a slash that didn't break through. So he still mostly had his attention on Arno, so that she came up on the side there to make your strike. But he's wide open for yours. Brunhilde's turn to bait. That's nifty. Well, he is completely eliminated by your attack. That does mean, yes, so you do get to dispatch him in cool fashion. Bear in mind that in your escape, everyone within the 5 feet radius of him, which will be everyone except for Kelp and Petunia, will have to make a DC save to avoid getting splashed by the acid that comes forth after your sword renders him dead. But that does include yourself. So DC save from Brunhilde, Arno, Kane, and Abbott. And I just want to double check that. Or sorry, this guy isn't the acid splashy. My bad. It's a Constitution save, and it's for the gas that emits when they turn to stone. Very sorry. These guys are the ones sorry that turn to stone. Leader guy explodes in acid. My heavy apologies. Dissipating cloud coming up. Oh no. Wow, wow, wow. All right, so it's only with the bless that you know that you're able to overcome that. It is that close exact. So thank heavens, pun intended. Meanwhile, you see Brunhilde happened to have been engulfed in most of it since the strike came from the opposite side. And so the gas that comes forth, you see her limbs freeze up in an unnatural fashion and kind of take over a pallid cast. So she doesn't turn into the same stone, but you can see the effect of that cloud starting to cause petrification. That being said, Brunhilde, you're going to repeat your saving throw at the end of the turn. On a success, the effect will end. Otherwise, you'll be petrified for a minute. You can feel your limbs starting to freeze up as you inhale this gas. At the end of this turn, yeah, pretty much. It says until next turn, but yeah. And yes, a Constitution save beating 11, which Arno just barely made. And with that, you. Sorry, go ahead. No, not until the end of the turn. Abbott is good, and Arno is good. Abbott's way good. He disengaged, hopped out of there with a nice swipe of his blade, making him look natural. If Arno can show off, so can he. Which I imagine may be a silent competition between the two. If it isn't, it might be now. But you both had pretty cool kill strikes. So with that, the other Draconian has seen all of his buddies slain. One of them is starting to crumble to dust, the first one that had been slain. And he's just going out, wants to take somebody with him. With both hands, he's taking a swipe at Brunhilde, who unfortunately is at his whim. So this will be with the advantage. Well, not that matters either way. So 7 damage comes slashing down on the Savior Brunhilde, slashing across the upper back and the kind of the shoulder neck area. Looked like he was going for something more, but didn't quite have the leverage, and he's messed up with all the blood that is seeping forth from him. And piercing, but yes, 7. It should be slashing, but he has another swing to be made. This one he's not going to have the advantage on because it's offhand and he's bleeding and not doing well. But with that, still gets in a strike, but doesn't have the full force behind it, so only 3 damage on the second swing. The totem, the bear totem that's up grants an additional 7 temporary HP. Yeah. He's trying to hurt you, but he's far too messed up himself to make significant impact. That's going to bring us up top to Petunia. By the way, everybody present can see that this guy now is by himself, outnumbered, and on his last leg. But he's just trying to expend himself into trying to die with his own twisted honor, take somebody with him. So he's totally transfixed on just taking out the dwarf. So Petunia, that is what you see upon the battlefield. You can tell, yeah, from the strikes that were taken, you can tell she was hurt. But with the strikes, instead of there being like impact and cutting through flesh, you can see the same kind of magical energy that your bear totem has kind of dissipate with the strike. Almost like a fighting game hit strike, but not so angry and flashy. But kind of flashes off there, so you can see that your totem protected her from actual harm. Awesome. Quite a wicked shot, but you're pretty sure any hit is just going to pretty well dispatch him if you can make it. All right. The dart flies true, and you hit the target you're aiming for. But unfortunately, it happens to just kind of careen off and bounce off of the scaly part of his hide. A solid strike, but the dart itself bounces, unfortunately, harmlessly off of his scales into the dirt of the beach. Well, riverside. I should stop calling it beach, technically. Alrighty. Brunhilde, you are. Yes, indeed. Yes. All right. And did we get your other save? Okay, let's go ahead and do that while you're making your swing. And you're on target. You know that you've got your death swing on approach. So, with overcoming that paralyzation and the fog dissipating from the death of the other Draconian, go ahead and describe how you take out the last remaining Draconian. Yeah, you can squish and or cleave into his skull frame as much as you like. Essentially, you're able to pinpoint the place where Petunia had hit him with the dart, helped zero in your strike, even though the dart didn't penetrate. It provided the bullseye target for you that lets you cleave in. All right, and unfortunately, um, and I'll give you advantage on the save because you are able to kind of anticipate the mist coming out and you just overcame it. But go ahead and do a dexterity save to avoid the cloud, kind of get out of the way with your finishing blow, and making it look cool the way too that Abbott and Arno were showing off. If you want to, kind of swish your way out of it if you like. Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead and take advantage on that, and you can verify for me later. But this is also in your epic moment of killing the bad guy, so with the heroic music, it fits. All right, you're able to avoid the cloud perfectly well, almost nimble toed even. Yes, you have fully recovered from that, but you do know now without a doubt that inhaling, being in that cloud, will start to cause paralysis. You don't know to what extent. You hope that you don't turn into stone the way they did, but it's a possibility. You were starting to freeze up. Joints were stiff, and yeah. So you're all pretty well uh, to the point where you know that at least the red ones, those are the ones that are going to explode into acid, and these green ones are going to turn into stone from your preponderance of evidence thus far. Correct. And in your recollection, the other one, while it wasn't taking a leadership role, was a red one as opposed to green, and also acid explode. So, yes. All right. All right. As far as where you guys are at now, the campfire is starting to dwindle down because it hasn't been fed. There's still plenty of hours until daylight at this point. You know you're not creeping on dusk and all that yet, so plenty of time to make it back and get decent sleep before the festival. Maybe have a sleep in a little bit, but otherwise pretty good. Um, the light of the bear totem is eventually going to dissipate out here unless Petunia does that manually. But as you're standing around all of the dead bodies and the dying campfire, there are some goods that have been raided nearby. Not a ton of value stuff. Looks like just regular traveling accessories. But you're welcome to root into that if you like. And you are all there together now. Unfortunately for Kane, he wasn't able to save the people who were captured, but at least you have a measure of revenge. And Arno very specifically got revenge on the one who nearly murdered, death stabbed him just the day before. But you guys are welcome to kind of respond here as you will. No initiative, as it were. We have cleared the dramatic battle turn by turn. All right, go ahead and make an investigation check there. Okay, you are able to find a couple of torn burlap sacks. You're not sure which one may have been the one that he had the day before. Both of them have remnants of what looked like to be vegetables. There's kind of smears, and but they're torn asunder. They're no longer in use or have anything in them. Oh my gosh, it's dark, yo. You do notice the bodies eventually do crumble into a pile of stony dust. They don't stay statuesque forever. Charred enemy remnants. Mark that on your character sheet. Alright, so it looks like Brunhilde has taken the lead in just clearing out of here. If anybody else has any discussion they want to have, or if they want to save it for the warmth of the inn, you could probably get some drink or food, or maybe nicely talk Brunhilde into cooking you guys something. Never know. Oh, all right. Is there anybody who does not intend to just head back and call it a night after the beach excursion? There was an investigation nearby, yeah, of the. Yeah, he had seen when you guys first came on the scene, the leader was going through the sack and had put a couple things in his pocket, but otherwise, yeah. That I thought you guys had just tossed away. It had been left. It was just a correspondent speaking to how there'd been attacks recently, and it was kind of verifying why Rice had been hired as a guide and why there were knights who were guarding the caravans because of the rumors of recent attacks. Clearly, you guys have already stumbled on two. And there were a couple extra members here that you didn't see back at the previous ambush. So you know they're kind of spread out. Maybe there's a greater number nearby. You don't know. But definitely monsters in the woods in these here parts. Can I get an insight check from Kane? And anybody with a good alignment. Wow, is that everybody really? A An insight check. Oh wow. So only Arno stops to think and remember, as everybody's pretty well just set. Let's trudge back to the inn. Let's get to bed and everything. Even Kane forgets the guy he left at roadside, and he rolled a one, so that totally makes sense. He's just totally distracted, overwhelmed for the evening. Totally forgot the guy that you left that you had made stable on the roadside that told you about the attack. But Arno, you remember. You're the only one. But you don't now you don't have to share that, but you're of good alignment, so it definitely hits you hard. Like, oh man, there's still a guy out in the middle of the woods in the middle of the dark who almost died. Yeah, you guys are closer to him than kind of equidistant to town, but yeah, you definitely have enough people to help carry. But you don't have to. I don't want to force your hand on taking care of him. Just letting you know. It's a pretty quick walk. It's maybe like 10 to 20 minutes ish, real close. Okay. I would like to remind you that this is kind of a bloody mess here because they were eating the flesh of freshly killed and maimed people. So I don't know if that makes you uncomfortable to sleep around. If that changes your. Okay. There's not a lot of that. You'd have to go to the southeast of the fire a little bit to avoid where kind of the main eating was happening, where they were sitting in the chairs on the other side there. So yeah, you guys see the Petunia has started to make up camp here and is restoking the fire, getting briefing that. Looks like she's going to stay here instead of be heading back with you. You guys could certainly bring that guy back to here instead of town and wait till morning. Just give him more time to kind of rest up. If you guys wanted to stop, have a meal, rest up. All right. Again, there was some leftover goods here that he'll be more than willing to share. There's some trail rations. Some of the vegetables, or most of the vegetables, are left. Some of them are squished on purpose, but it doesn't look like the Draconians were interested in actually eating them. So, Brunhilde, you do have some worthwhile ingredients if that piques your interest at all. Okay, so taken off. So, how many people will be staying at camp until morning, and how many people will be going back to the inn? Oh wow, okay. And Petunia, can I get, just before we leave you by the fire here, can I go ahead and get a survival check? on the way out. Okay. So you're able to keep the fire going, you're able to keep yourself warm, and you have your own ways of being able to feed yourself. So nothing bad happens, and you're in good shape. You have an easier time sleeping here where a battle was fought, but outside than you were having inside the inn. And with that, everyone will be heading back to Vogler, back to the inn where the bartender greets you. She has offered up some drinks, the non-alcoholic beverage, just some juices that were prepared for the festival the next day. But just something to drink on your way to bed, if you would like, as you guys come shuffling back in. Yeah. All right. And so, those who speak Elvish would recognize the Elvish sound of that, even though it's not based on the world you're from as far as its origin. It has an Elvish twang to it, adding to the mystique of the half orc wielding such an intricate blade. And it's incredibly fitting. Like, it's a very Elvish blade, and that definitely fits. But it's out of place in his hands. Not his use of it. That he has demonstrated well. Just the his being non-elvish. Just a note. We will be, yes. Once everyone's eyelids have drooped, we will be fading to black along with them. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I intended to do that, and I'm sorry that I wasn't consistent. There was a couple at the end that I didn't death out, but yeah, no problem at all. I used like one of the little sub icons because a couple of them were asleep and then a couple of them were dead. Yeah, and they're like smaller and on the side. There is, as you're saying, the giant red X that can go through them, so I can definitely use that as a highlighter for sure. But yeah, towards the end, I was just kind of like, oh, yep, that one's dead. This is the only one that's alive. Kind of fell off on the marking. Yeah, certainly.